Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be talking about Riley Sager. He is an absolute favorite author of mine. He's become an auto-buy author and I love his work so much. His books tend to have more of a supernatural bend to them. So if you're also a horror reader like me, then I think you'll really enjoy Riley Sager. If you're a straight up thriller reader, then you might not enjoy his books as much. So it just depends on what books you're typically drawn to. But as someone who loves both thrillers and horror, I love that these are kind of a mix of both, and I absolutely love that. So I'm going to be doing a vlog of his brand new book that just came out in June called Middle of the Night. And then when I'm finished with the vlog, I'm going to rank all of his books from least to best, and you will see which ones I liked the least of his and which ones I liked the most from Riley Sager. And to be honest, I'm not like most people when it comes to Riley Sager, so my ranking might surprise some of you. So let's go ahead and get started.
Sometimes like all you want to do is run. Hear me out, hear me out. It's all the things you never show. There are the things I want to know. Secrets
Everyone, I'm back from my trip to Bear Lake. We had a really fun time and it's good to be home though. Vacations are wonderful things, but they're also exhausting. So I did take my book, but I only got a few chapters in. So I'm only like 3 chapters into this book. So this is Riley Sager's first book that's from the perspective of a man slash boy, I should say. So that will be really interesting, because so far he's always done it by the perspective of a woman. So this little boy, he's 10 years old, and he and his best friend are in a tent in the backyard, and in the middle of the night, somebody comes with a knife, slashes a hole into the side of the tent, and steals one of the little boys away. His name's Billy. And our main character, Ethan, was there the entire time, but he didn't wake up. And when he wakes up, his best friend's just gone, just vanished, never to be seen again. So obviously he's having some survivor's guilt, and he's guilty that he didn't wake up to help his friend or to be able to identify who took him. And it's been weighing heavily on his mind for 30 years. I like that we get a perspective from both the past and the present. Most of it's in the present time, which is 30 years later, but some of it takes place in the past. And the ones in the past, we get more than just the one perspective. You get some of Billy's perspective and another friend that they have named Russ, and you have Ethan's perspective. And so that's been really intriguing. The present chapters, at least so far, have only been from Ethan's point of view. So I really like this one. I like the setup. It's got really creepy vibes. I'm actually buddy reading this with a friend named Amy, and she pointed out that it has similar vibes to like an Alfred Hitchcock film, more specifically Rear Window. And I really agree with that assessment. It really does feel like Rear Window because you have this quiet little neighborhood in this cul-de-sac, and then you're just starting to learn all the different people in the neighborhood and their relationships to each other. You know, it's almost like you're being a voyeur, just looking through the window at the world and seeing this little neighborhood and trying to piece together these people that live together. And so I'm really enjoying that aspect of it. There's been a couple of little creepy things that makes me hopeful this might have some supernatural stuff, but I know Riley Sager is kind of known for making you think that there's a haunting or a ghost or whatever, and then it never is. It's usually something that's real life that gets explained at the end. But I keep hoping that one day he'll do something a little more supernatural. I know he had one book. I don't want to say which one it is because it's probably a spoiler, but I know in one of his books he went the supernatural route and I absolutely loved it. But this one, I don't know, it could go either way. He could finally do a real haunting, or it could just be someone in the neighborhood. We'll see. So that's really all I have to say about it right now. Hey, I'm back for another update. I'm about halfway through middle of the night, and I'm still very much intrigued and invested in this story. It has a lot of nostalgic 90s vibes to it because we're getting some past point of views from 1994, from when they were kids, which also gives it kind of Stranger Thing vibes or like coming of age summary vibes, which I'm really enjoying. And there's also really good character development in my opinion, especially our main character Ethan. I feel like he's a well-developed character and I'm enjoying his POV. And then we're also introduced to this institute. So you have this little cul-de-sac of people that's called Hemlock Circle, which is where I got my Rear Window vibes from, because you have all these neighbors and they kind of look at each other all the time and they gather together and gossip and stuff. But then you also have these woods behind the cul-de-sac, and the kids aren't really allowed to play there, but obviously they're kids, so they do and they explore. And then on the other side of the woods, there's this institute, which is this huge mansion, and it has a lot of grounds, and it has this giant waterfall and these gardens and different things. And I'm very intrigued about this institute because all they say about it is that nobody knows what they do there except that the guy is ultra rich and he likes his privacy and he likes to conduct research. So I'm very interested to know more about this institute. It seems very mysterious and I love that kind of a mystery. So looking forward to it. There's not really much else I can say about it without being spoilery since I am pretty far into it now, so I'll give you my final thoughts when I'm finished. I'm back for my last update of Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I finished this book now, and I really enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Riley Sager book, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was well written. I enjoyed the characters, and most importantly, I did not see who the killer was, which is always a good thing in a thriller when you can't predict who it was that did it. And like Riley Sager, there's always different layers of things. It's never just as straightforward as you think it's going to be. So yeah, I thought this was a good one. I don't have too much to say about it because, again, spoilers. And I'm about to do the ranking, so you'll see what my star rating is then. But I would recommend this to all Riley Sager fans. And the ending was actually even a little bit sentimental. Like, it made me a little teary-eyed because of certain aspects of the story. So I enjoyed that part. I don't know if I should go into more detail than that, probably not, but I kind of have mixed feelings about the ending because I thought it was a good ending and I didn't guess the killer, and it even had some emotional parts, but there were certain aspects where it was like, it's a little bit morally gray, I guess you could say, and so sometimes I'm okay with that kind of ending, and sometimes it rubs me the wrong way because it's not exactly the way I would have wanted it to end. But even still, I enjoyed my time with it. Now that we've had the vlog of Riley Sager's new book, I'm going to go ahead and rank them, and you can see where his new book falls in the line of other Riley Sager books. So I did give it a 4-star, just so you know. So, starting with my least favorite Riley Sager book, that would be his first debut novel, which was Final Girls. And I really liked this in the beginning. I thought it was really good and interesting, and I was excited to read it. This is a homage to slasher films. My main character was the final girl, and it took part in a slasher at a cabin in the woods. And she discovers that there's 2 other final girls kind of in her area that have also been the final girls of their own slasher massacre events. And so over the years, she kind of knows who these women are, but she doesn't really associate with them. But then one of them ends up being killed, or more specifically, committed suicide. And she's very, very upset that she would survive something this horrendous and then end up killing herself after all, and was just really upset. So then when she gets back to her apartment one day, the other final girl ends up showing up and wants to talk about it. And as somebody who is the only one that could truly understand and know what she's going through, they could comfort each other and be there for each other. And I really enjoyed it in the beginning. I thought that the characters were interesting and I was having a fun time. But then, I don't know, towards the end, I just wasn't loving it anymore. There's a lot of sex in this book, and the reveals and the twists were just like, okay, I guess. Like, I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite. You know, I thought I was really going to like it, but by the end I was just like, meh. So this is my least favorite Riley Sager book. And then this one might shock people because a lot of people love this book, but my next least favorite would be The Last Time I Lied. And I just felt like this was kind of an average thriller. I thought the last twist was shocking, and I didn't expect it, and I thought it was a good twist. But as I was reading the entire book, it just felt very mundane, very like done before. I wasn't super connected to the main character. Like, nothing really stood out. Like, even now, I read it like last year, and well, maybe it's been 2 years, but either way, it's not that memorable because I can hardly even remember what it's about. I just remember the ending, and I remember like maybe 1 or 2 scenes is all, so it really didn't stick with me. But this one, I did like the setting because it's set at a summer camp, so this has good summery vibes if you're into that. But I think she goes to this summer camp, and I don't know, I should have read the synopsis before I did this video, but I think she went there as a girl, and then like one of the girls went missing, but then she goes there later as like a camp counselor or something. I could be getting that completely wrong. But there's like 3 girls in the present tense that goes missing, and so she's trying to figure out what happened to them. But yeah, I just thought it was just kind of a typical thriller, nothing mind-blowing except the ending, which is good. I mean, it's good to have a mind-blowing ending, but I don't know, I just wished I was more invested the entire read through. Okay, so I'm kind of the opposite when it comes to Riley Sager. A lot of people, the ones that they absolutely love are ones that I just thought were okay, and the ones that people hated, I tend to really love. So my next one, which is a lot of people's favorite, is Home Before Dark. And this should have been a favorite of mine because this has to deal with the haunted house. And I absolutely adore haunted house stories. Love them to death. Eat it up. I read them all the time. But unfortunately, this one was very repetitive and very boring. And I felt like there was a lot of plot holes with the ending. The way that Riley Sager wanted to make the story turn out in the end seemed forced. And there's one aspect of it that I can't say because it would be a spoiler that didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why would that be the case? So yeah, a lot of people seem to love this one a lot, but for me, it just wasn't great, unfortunately. And then Riley Sager's probably most hated book comes next, and that's Survive the Night. This was my very first Riley Sager book I ever read, and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was exciting. I thought it was thrilling. I thought it was suspenseful. It had a lot of snowy vibes, which I enjoyed because driving in the snow scares the crap out of me. So I really liked this one. This is about a girl who is a college student and she needs to find a way home for the holidays, but she doesn't have a car to take her there. And so she sees a bulletin on the board that's asking if anybody needs a ride. But there's also been a campus killer going around killing, co-eds or whatever. And so she's like, it's probably stupid to get in a car with a stranger, but otherwise I'm not going to be able to go home. So I guess I'll risk it, so she does. And I think that's why people hate this book so much is she makes a lot of dumb decisions. And she does, but the reason why I'm okay with it is because there was one or two comments in this book where I felt like there was a commentary being said about victim shaming and how even if somebody does make bad decisions, it's not their fault if they get murdered and killed. And I feel like that was a commentary that Riley Sager was trying to convey with this book. And so even though she does make dumb decisions, I feel like it was on purpose. That it wasn't just dumb writing or to move the plot, which is honestly the case for a lot of these type of books is they have to make dumb decisions in order to have it be thrilling, because if every protagonist was just the smartest thing ever, then the book would be over in 20 pages and it would be really boring. But even so, I don't feel like that was the case here. I really feel like Riley Sager did it on purpose to prove a point. And so, I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was a fun, entertaining ride. I mean, it was just meant to entertain, meant to get you out of your head and out of the real world and spend a fun afternoon. I thought it was a good book. I will say the ending had a bit of weird scenes to it that weren't necessarily my favorite, but on the whole, I just had fun. And then we have Middle of the Night, which is his new one. So this one, it wasn't quite as thrilling or as exciting as Survive the Night, but I put it ahead of that one because I felt like it was better written and the character development was better. And so that's the reason why it nudged that one out. And this one did shock me with who the killer ended up being. I did not see it coming at all. And I really enjoyed the characters and I really enjoyed my time with it. This has like summer coming of age vibes to it, which I appreciated. And I had a fun time. And then we have Lock Every Door. And I really, really, really loved the Rosemary's Baby vibes to this book because it definitely took inspiration from Rosemary's Baby, without a doubt. You have this woman who moves into this building called the Bartholomew, and same thing with all the books that are based on Rosemary's Baby. She can't afford it, but she ends up being able to move into this swanky new apartment because of circumstances, and then creepy things happen. And I really enjoyed this one. It kept me guessing, it kept me wondering the whole time, and I just loved the creepy atmosphere. I do wish that the creep factor was just a little bit creepier and he would have gone a little bit further in the setting. But I do recognize that this isn't a horror novel, this is a thriller. And so, for what it was, I thought it was really well written. I thought it was fun. I thought it was suspenseful. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of Rosemary's Baby, so this one ticked all the boxes for me in that regard. I kind of saw certain aspects of this book. Yeah, I would say it was mostly predictable, to be honest. There might have been like one little surprise at the end, but at the same time, I don't care that it was predictable. I just enjoyed the ride. And then the next two, I couldn't decide because I really love them both so much, and I didn't know which one to put at the top. So I ended up having to just go with how I felt when I was reading it. So the next one is The Only One Left, and this is his new release from last year. And this did have the atmosphere that I loved from Lock Every Door. It had the mansion up on the hill and the gothic vibes, and taking care of this old woman who can't walk or talk, and had Lizzie Borden vibes. Like, it was just really good. And then, man, this one, twist after twist after twist after twist after twist, which honestly Riley Sager is pretty known for, but man, this would put your head in a whirl towards the end. There was just so much going on and so much happening. And usually that doesn't necessarily work for me because you just feel like you have whiplash. But I don't know, it worked for me in this one, and I really enjoyed it. There was this woman who's taking care of this older woman who was accused of killing her family when she was a teenager, just like Lizzie Borden, but was never convicted. They couldn't hold her, so she's just been up in this mansion on top of this cliff for like decades, and people, talk about it behind her back or whatever. And so our main character, she gets the job to be her hospice nurse and go take care of her. But, creepy things happen and suspicious things happen, and she doesn't know how she feels about taking care of a woman that is potentially a murderer. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot of fun, very enjoyable, one of my favorite Riley Sagers. So if you haven't read it yet, I highly suggest you do so. Which means, unpopular opinion that it is, my favorite Riley Sager book is House Across the Lake. And I know a lot of people hated this one. Survive the Night and House Across the Lake are his most unpopular books, but I actually really enjoyed both of them, and this one was my favorite book of 2023. So, I don't know. I think it's because a lot of people that read him are just straight up thriller readers, and I feel like you'll enjoy this one more if you're also open to reading horror. And so I just don't think people liked the twist, because there is a huge twist in this book, and if you don't like that type of twist, you're not gonna like this book. And a lot of people didn't like the main character because they thought she was just a boring alcoholic, and that's been done to death in thrillers where they're just an unreliable narrator that drinks all the time. And I do understand their point, I really do, but for some reason it didn't bother me. So I don't know, I just thought it was fun. And honestly, once that twist hit in the middle of the book, I could not put this down. I was so invested, and I just kept turning pages, didn't want to do anything else but read. And so this has to be my top pick, just for based on how I felt while I was reading it, because I just flew through it and ingested the last half in just a matter of hours, which I hardly ever do anymore. So this has to be my top pick. So this is about a woman who moves into this vacation home because she can't afford another home. And I can't remember, I think it's like inherited, or I don't remember exactly how she comes into possession of this house, but I just know it's normally a vacation home, but she ends up moving in, and she is an alcoholic, and she's had bad experiences in her past with her husband, who also passed away. And then across the lake there's this like glamorous couple, and he's obviously rich and she's an actress, and it has definite Rear Window vibes where she voyeuristically looks out the window at them with binoculars and spies on them and stuff. But I don't know, I just thought it was really fun, and I really enjoyed this one a lot. So there you have it. Those are all of Riley Sager's books that are currently published, and those are how I feel about them. So let me know in the comments whether you're like me and you also liked House Across the Lake and Survive the Night, or if you're like everybody else and hated it, or if like everybody else you absolutely adore Home Before Dark, or you're like me and just thought it was okay. So, which again, I think it's largely because if you read a lot of haunted house books like me, then it's not really going to add that much to the genre, honestly. But if you don't regularly read that type of books, then it probably would be exciting for you. But that's just my opinion on that. You can tell me if you feel otherwise down in the comments, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you haven't read any Riley Sager, then what's wrong with you? Get out there, get to a bookstore, get on Amazon, buy yourself a copy. I don't care which book it is. just buy one and read it, because you will be doing yourself a favor, because he is fantastic. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and we can become friends and talk about books. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!